I love weird formats, be it audio or video. I just love seeing the other options that people had back in the day. In this, I'll be talking about a strange, obscure video format known as CED, or VideoDisc. CED, or Capacitance Electronic Disc, is an old format that was being developed in the 60s by RCA, but didn't make it into consumers' hands until I think 1981 due to conflicts within RCA and other things stalling the production. But when it was released, you already had other formats like Laserdisc, Betamax and VHS, ultimately and immediately making CED obsolete. In the US, they discontinued the machine in 1984 and stopped releasing titles for it in 1986. But if I remember correctly, the machines were only available in the UK in 1983 for about 6 months. How much money do you think RCA lost? It was about $580 million. Imagine that with inflation.
Do you have a nickel?
What I find most interesting about the CED format is the media itself. You have these big 12-inch square-shaped caddies which, much like with vinyl, have great artwork, but even more like vinyl, contain a vinyl. Yes, these vinyl discs contain the film, which means that these are read with a stylus as well. Except the grooves are 657 nanometers wide, and when stretched out would cover 19 kilometers or 12 miles.
12 miles of grooves.
They would also spin much faster than your standard 33 1/3 or 45 RPM records, coming in at 375 RPM for PAL systems and 450 RPM for NTSC.
450 revolutions per minute on a perfectly flat plane.
That's 10 times as fast as a generic 45 RPM record, and each rotation would contain 4 full frames of video. What I love the most, really, is that amazing light reflection. You're not supposed to touch the discs at all though, but don't worry, I have 2 copies of this film for some stupid reason. Oh, and here's a neat little tidbit I forgot to mention. If the case is white, that means it's a monaural recording, while the blue ones, or purple, I don't know what that colour is, I can't say, I'm a bit colourblind, those ones are stereo recordings. Just thought I'd mention that quickly. Yeah, it's cool, okay? Okay, cool. Obviously they need a machine to be played on, and these are the machines that I own. One of them, this Hitachi VIP 101P I got a couple years ago, and it was nicely restored and in very, very good minty fresh condition. That is until someone decided to open the package it arrived in with a big knife straight down onto the previously unscathed metal. Oh, and while we're on the subject, you see that little divot there? That little divot right there? Yeah, that just happened. Right now, as I was making this video, my brother dropped a battery. He dropped a battery on this thing, and it just fucking auto-fucking-focus is a fucking bitch. You stupid... The other one, this VIP 201P, is one that's been on my mother's side of the family since it was new. It's got many more features than the 101P, including an RCA audio-video output, extra controls on the front, as well as an infrared receiver for an 11-button remote control, which of course I still have. Now, when I initially found this one, with all the discs in the garage at our old place, things weren't so pretty. The machine wasn't working, and there was a lot of rattling from within. Opening it up, I found the Watership Down disc inside, in pieces. This one didn't fare too well either, and was one of my absolute favourites as a child. This is why I now have 2 copies of both. It works now though, the machine, since I had the other one as a reference point. Starting it up is really fascinating. You get your film and stick it in, side 1 facing upwards, and then take it out again. The disc is inside and lowered onto the giant spindle that immediately starts spinning the disc as the stylus comes across to read it. As the stylus reaches the starting point, the production begins. Though, if your disc isn't completely free of dust or anything that can possibly get on it, like this disintegrating soft material, you could be watching something that looks like an early 80s YouTube poop. Since it's essentially a vinyl disc, it's susceptible to skips and jumps. And when it comes to the visual quality, it's not that much better than VHS. And if the stylus isn't in very good condition, it won't look very good at all. Oh shit, spoilers, sorry. These are all the films in my collection. A few of them still sealed that I keep in this stupid cardboard contraption that I made. Hang on. CED discs, that's like saying capacitance electronic discs. God, I'm an idiot. Some great classics in here like The Wizard of Oz, the complete Beatles documentary, The Fog, this Charlie Brown one that I remember eating a lemon jam sandwich to when I was tiny. Weird memory to have, but I kept it nonetheless. Anyway, since these weren't on the market for very long at all, most if not all the machines in the UK were variants of the Hitachi machines, and I found a manual for a GEC McMichael branded machine that looks to use much of the same moulding. Not a whole lot of titles were released, a measly 200 or so versus the US's 1700.
What? They got the last unicorn?
And other machines can potentially cost you quite a bit these days, not as much as a Commodore PET though. Sorry, I just have that on my mind right now. Really want one of those. I hope you enjoyed my take on this weird but wonderful format, and as always, I'll be back in 16 bits.